All right, bull runners, welcome back to the channel. So if XRP has officially flipped BlackRock in market cap, it clearly means that there's more demand for XRP than BlackRock. So why have they been silent about ETFs for XRP if there's more demand there? Well, let's dive into the secret tie between BlackRock and Ripple, because a lot of people have been saying that they've been building the same system under different names. So we first need to start right here.
But crypto is going to play a big role. Digitization of currency, digitization of everything we're doing. I'm a big believer in this. Is one thing that will change Bloomberg even. I believe we're going to be in the cutting edge of tokenizing bonds and stocks.
It's coming.
And we have the technology now. The fact that we are now moving forward in tokenization, every bond and stock, is crazy. Yeah. We should be moving towards that frontier. Obviously, there's winners and losers and all that, but we need to be prepared for the tokenization. And it would democratize more finance if we tokenized bonds and stocks.
Now, I don't know if this lady is chuckling here because she doesn't believe him or if she just doesn't know how to react to what he's saying here, but it's very clear that the CEO of the largest asset management company in the world is saying the next generation for markets will be tokenization of stocks and bonds. We need to listen. Doesn't matter whether you like him. Doesn't matter whether you think he's a reptilian or a shapeshifter. What matters is what they're planning on doing and how you can benefit from it financially to support your family, inevitably create generational wealth by understanding their next move. Because did you know that US Treasuries are already tokenized on the XRP ledger via Ondo Finance? And if you want to guess who's quietly partnered with Ondo, well, you guessed it. That's BlackRock. Now, Ondo's co-founder came from Goldman Sachs. So did most of BlackRock's top people. So did Gary Gensler. And Ripple faced Gensler against the SEC. They fought, they settled, they walked away cleaner than anyone expected. Even though it took a lot longer than everyone expected, what if it wasn't a punishment? What if it was initiation? And Ripple's right to passage, which I said about 3 years ago is what's taking place, because you've seen Tesla get sued how many times by the SEC? You've seen Microsoft get sued how many times by the SEC? You go on the official SEC website and you can research this for yourself and see how many suits there are against people like Elon Musk. And look at how big Tesla is today. So just look up any big company and you'll see the SEC goes after them. And so the uninitiated investors look at that as a bad thing, whereas the smart investors like you see that as a good thing. So what company did the SEC attack the hardest? Clearly Ripple. So that tells me that Ripple is the chosen one. Now also BlackRock already has an ETF called iShares Genomics Immunology and Healthcare Index ETF, where the ETF is all about investing in DNA, health data, and genomics infrastructure. And if you go to BlackRock.com, you guys can officially see this on their website right here. And it's currently available in Canada right now. So if you are in the United States, I'm not sure if you're able to get this. Maybe I'll make another video on this project specifically here. But wait till you see what's happening on the XRP ledger. Because this project launched on July 4th, the same day Trump signed the One Big Beautiful Bill, and 2011 Bitcoin wallets mysteriously started to wake up. And their goal with this project was to decentralize and sovereign DNA identity, encrypted medical data, and access credentials for the post-reset world. So guess what ticker they chose? XDNA. Why would they put an X in front of it? Well, it's very interesting how Brad Garlinghouse just handed us a massive breadcrumb and most people missed it. He admitted that the government owns your identity. Listen to this.
Who owns your identity?
Yeah, it's not me, unfortunately.
It's not you. What's interesting, though, the government owns your identity.
Yep.
If you don't have a passport or a birth certificate or a driver's license, whatever, I don't know each country's dynamic, but like, if you don't have those things, you are not who you say you are.
No.
The government owns your identity. Now, we may not like that, but I just view that as, that's just a truism. And one of the things Ripple has tried to do is we're pragmatic. Even though my philosophical view on something may be over here, to build a business and to drive the success of the XRP ecosystem, sometimes you just have to be pragmatic about the world. Even though I love the idea of blockchain-based identity as a utility for blockchains.
So that's a big key right there, being pragmatic about how the world works and learning how to thrive when you can't do enough to stop something. For example, Ripple is a company. They're not here to fight the system. They're here to absorb it pragmatically and strategically. That's why they donated to both sides of the party, depending on whoever got elected, Democrats or Republicans. And whereas the mob mentality or people who didn't like Donald Trump saw that they donated to the Republicans, they didn't like Ripple, and on the vice versa, people were like, did you see that Chris Larson donated to the Democrats? And they made their decision based on that, when you got to understand how chess is truly played. Sometimes you have to sacrifice some pieces in order to win the game, because it's all about the war, not the battle here. So what if the XRP ledger is quietly becoming the foundation for sovereign on-chain identity. Brad didn't say it outright here, but he didn't need to. Because Ondo has deep ties with BlackRock, Ondo's founder, Nathan Ullman, is ex-Goldman Sachs, like many at BlackRock, the Larry Fink Gensler Goldman triangle here. And BlackRock's Aladdin platform is the central brain of global asset management, managing over $20 trillion. So rumors are out there that Aladdin has tested blockchain-based cross-border payment rails on RippleNet. Now, I'm not going to confirm or deny that. I'm not here to spread rumors, but we're going to get down to the facts over the next few minutes because XRP Ledger's interoperability with the ISO 20022 and FedWire's July 14th deadline makes it an ideal plugin here. Because Ripple has been emphasizing its push into tokenizing real estate, treasuries, CBDCs, commodities, and this mirrors BlackRock's digital asset strategy to unlock $100 trillion in capital through tokenization. So it's the same playbook, same timing, same target, same words that Larry Fink has been using about tokenizing everything on chain.
I think the big thing that's changed around tokenization is, again, one reason to be very optimistic about where we are in the evolution of crypto. The largest financial managers, asset managers on the planet are talking about, whether it's BlackRock, I mean, certainly Blackstone, Franklin Templeton, Fidelity. I mean, these are, some of the largest asset managers on the planet are actively working on talking about. Larry Fink is, he thinks this is underhyped. This is going to fundamentally change how finance works, and it's going to democratize and give more people access, which is, it really has been the promise of crypto from the earliest days. So it's exciting to see kind of it come to fruition.
Or maybe, just maybe, BlackRock saw what Ripple was doing and they decided to compete. So they used Gary Gensler to slow them down, establish Aladdin, and built partnerships with someone else, maybe XLM, XDC, or another project. What are your guys' thoughts on the matter? Because when we look at this right here, the SEC is now postponing its decision on the Bitwise Spot XRP ETF, Canary Spot XRP ETF, Grayscale XRP ETF, and all the other ETFs are being delayed now. And this is actually confirmed too. If you go to Grok and you ask it, the SEC has not made final decisions on the Spot XRP ETF applications filed by various asset managers. Instead, they delayed their rulings, extending review deadlines into October of 2025 for multiple proposals, which is virtually all of them. Grayscale, 21 shares, CoinShares, Bitwise, Canary Capital, Wisdom Tree, Franklin Templeton. The only one that they have approved is the ProShares Ultra XRP ETF, which is a leveraged futures-based fund, which tracks XRP futures rather than holding the asset directly. And when Brad Garlinghouse was asked about XRP ETFs, here's what he said.
So you would welcome an XRP ETF then?
We would certainly welcome it, and I think it's inevitable that there'll be, multiple ETFs around different tokens. I think you'll even see ETFs potentially around baskets that also, I think, further diversify that risk.
Are you in talks with the largest issuers, particularly BlackRock, to get this done?
Well, I'm not going to comment on that. I know BlackRock has said some things publicly. We think it makes sense for the XRP community overall.
So his response says it all. Well, I'm not going to comment on that.
I'm not going to comment on that.
Anyone that says I'm not going to comment on that clearly has been working on something behind the scenes. In fact, listen to what CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink, said when asked about an XRP ETF.
How about an XRP ETF? I know you got Ether out there. How about XRP? Can you answer that?
I can't. And you don't want me to.
I do.
Well, I can't.
All right, they're giving me the rap.
So it's a similar type of response. I'm not going to comment on that. I can't.
Can you answer that?
I can't.
So it's a similar type of response. I'm not going to comment on that, or I can't comment on that. Not just a flat out no or a yes, because of legal restraints. Now, whether that's in non-disclosure agreement or what may be, the SEC requires strict confidentiality during the ETF application process to prevent market manipulation or premature speculation. So if they were working on an ETF application, they cannot say it legally, so they have to respond by saying what?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Can you answer that?
I can't.
So you can read between the lines here. So of course we can't confirm or deny that they are or they aren't, because they can't or they won't, or they're legally binded to not talk about it. So discussing a potential or pending ETF could be seen as signaling market sensitive information, risking violations of security laws. And BlackRock has already applied for other crypto ETFs like Bitcoin and Ethereum. So he doesn't want to move the XRP chess piece ETF on the board too soon until he needs to, and it's the right time, because he's still moving the other pieces to rake in money. Think about this in terms of a Hollywood movie launch. Notice how when a movie comes out, they film multiple movies at the same time in terms of series. Like Avatar, they filmed 2 movies back to back, but they didn't release them until years later. Why is that? Is because when one movie hits the box office, they have to milk that movie as long as possible to make as much money as possible before dropping the next one to increase the revenue of the next one as well too and create more demand. So it's very easy to understand why hasn't BlackRock filed an XRP ETF and why silence is speaking volumes here. Despite the Ripple's SEC victory and growing ETF momentum around Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're still sitting out. So I thought this was a great post from All Things XRP in terms of why they believe they're not filing just yet and they're letting these other companies file first because they're milking Bitcoin and Ethereum success, just like a Hollywood movie would come out with the first movie and then wait a year or two before they come out with the next one. BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust hit 30 billion in assets under management. The ETH ETF crossed 1 billion in just 60 days. So why add risk and why slow down that momentum when you're dominating the 2 most proven crypto assets? Why not let the other companies get a false jump and a false start to get the red flag thrown on them and let the SEC delay the decision on the XRP ETF for these other companies rather than being a part of that list of companies that had it delayed? It doesn't show true power here to be in the line waiting to get into the club here. The true power move is entering through the back door.